Hey, this is Craig from thebizwizards.com. Thanks for joining us. In the last video, we showed you how to update your DNS settings and install WordPress through your hosting panel at HostGator. Now what we're going to show you is how to log into the WordPress admin area. That's where you're able to do all the admin functions like editing your website, putting in new posts, putting in widgets. Basically, this will control the look and the feel as well as the content of your blog. We'll also show you how to set up your blog the BizWizards way, which is to say we will show you how to do some basic WordPress modifications and get your site up and running quickly and in a clean way. So we'll get started right away. Okay, so if you remember, our last video left off with you getting the WordPress site, the WordPress blog installed through your hosting panel at HostGator. And when you type in your domain name, it's going to bring you to your website, which will be a pretty simple website with a simple WordPress template, and this is what's installed stock out of the box. You have your website name, the tagline or description that you put in, and you have your post, which is also known as your content area. This is where all your posts will display. And this is called the sidebar area. And each of these things here are called widgets. This widget, which only shows one post right now, is recent posts. When you have more posts, they will line up in a row here. Recent comments is over here, so anyone who leaves a comment on any of your posts, that's where it shows up. And these things can be moved around in different areas and different places, and that's the way you customize your website to make it look differently. Real quick, I'll show you how I was able to customize, starting with a very basic WordPress template. I installed a framework, and I basically took my website from something that looked like this, pretty basic, to something that looks like this, a little bit more detailed, a lot of different colors, some logos, big pictures in the posts, some additional coloring, some functionality with social media, things like that. And you'll see you can make your posts show up different ways, small teasers, things like that. So there's a lot of customization you could do with the WordPress blog, and we're going to get to that a little bit now. So when you get your blog up and running and WordPress installed, you'll get an email from HostGator saying what your installation was, and it will basically bring you to this site. Now, you can either log into that email that sent you to your login panel, or you could come down here and click on the login screen, or you could type in, up in the address, you'll see this is your domain name, and if you remember correctly from the last video, I installed this in a subdomain because obviously we already have something on one of my other domains, but yours will just be your subdomain, and then you'll see here, you'll put in the WP-login, and you don't need the PHP, just the login, and that takes you to apparently it takes you to an error. You want WP admin, sorry, not WP login. You'll put your domain name and then WP-admin. And that will take you to a WordPress login screen. And you're going to use your credentials that you used previously. And I did change my password from the previous video, so if you do try to type password 1, that obviously won't work. Just to keep you people out of my account, of course. So when you do log in, you will be taken to the TV Report members site. That's my site. So whatever the name of your site is that you put in your installation will show up here. And it'll give you your dashboard screen, and we'll talk about this in a minute. So up here we're at the dashboard, and this is your sidebar, and you'll see when you scroll over these things, it'll give you an arrow. If you click on that arrow, it'll push down the scroll, and it'll give you different options of things you can do. Now, one of the first things you want to do after you install your WordPress and log into the admin panel is you'll see this yellow note. Most likely, it might not happen depending on the version you have, but most likely you will have to update. So you want to click on this link, please update now. and you're going to come to a screen that's going to tell you to back up your database files, which you really don't have to worry about because you haven't done anything to them yet. While it's always a good idea to make sure that you do have a backup of your files, we just installed this, so we know there's really not much there. So we're going to come down here and just click Update Automatically. It's going to unpack the update, go through a couple code, and then give you a note to go back to your dashboard, which we will do. And when we do that, you'll notice that the update warning message is gone. So now what we're looking at is your messages here. You have one post, one page, one category, one comment, which is approved, nothing pending, and no spam. The theme you're using is 2010, and you have 6 widgets in place. And we'll talk about what that means in just a moment. But basically, this is sample data that gets installed with the installation of WordPress so that you can see what your website looks like. And you could find out your website by basically clicking this name up here. That will always show you what your website looks like. And that's what our website looks like. And as we make edits in our back end, your website will change. So let's talk a little bit about setting up your blog the Biz Wizard's way. As I mentioned before, in your admin panel, you have different drop-down arrows here, and that give you different options of things you can do, and we'll run through those. Posts is your actual content. These are the articles that you will read. Media are the pictures, music, or video files that you might be putting into different posts. Links are a widget that you can use, and these are just different links out there in cyberspace. Really, we don't use these too often in WordPress, and there's a good reason why, but we'll explain that in another video. Pages, these are the actual pages that you will use. Think of these almost like menu categories, like the About Me page or the Contact page. And then you will also have the comments section, so when you do have posts, you might have some comments. People might log onto your post and leave a comment. Hey, nice post, or this is a dumb post. You know, that kind of stuff. Hopefully they're better comments. Appearance is your theme, your widgets, which are the things in your sidebar. You can create different menus. You could change your background. You could change the header image. And then there's an editor, which edits the actual code and the template of your website. If you have experience with code, you might be using the editor to change things around. If you don't have experience with code, I wouldn't mess with that setting because you could literally break your website. You could render your website unusable through WordPress, in which case you would have to delete everything and start from scratch. So if you're not an editor, stay away from that area. Plugins are things that give your website extra functionality. You can make your Facebook page show up on your website, or your Twitter page updates show up on your website. There are also tools, and these are for importing and exporting settings of WordPress. Again, this is probably an area you won't use much if you're not a coder. And then your general settings, and these control how the website posts are read, how you actually write the website posts also, how people can discuss posts and comment, limits to the type of media that can be uploaded and downloaded from your site, and other privacy settings. And this is really the strong back end of the WordPress area, and this is where we're going to spend some of our time. One section I missed, I believe, was the users section, which lists all the people that have the ability to access your site, or if you're running a membership site, people who are members of your site. So these are the general sidebar admin type of panels, and now we're going to discuss a few things that you can do to get up and running quickly and to set up your blog both with a good sense of security and also a good framework to have your site be in a good shape to be search engine optimized, which means it'll be found by the search engines relatively easily. So the first place we want to go to start the edits is down to the settings area. And this is where we're going to change some of your general settings for your website. Again, up here in the top, this will have been input when you installed WordPress, and we used the site title TV Report member site. The site that we're going to be building here for you would be, say, a member site for my website, the TV Report. The tagline is everything TV for members only. It's kind of a dumb tagline, but it'll serve for now. The address is where WordPress is installed, and that's this address, tvreport.com/members. That means if I were to type that address into a address bar in a browser, this website would come up. And here's the actual URL address. And the reason these can be different is your URL might be different than your WordPress address. Your WordPress can be installed in a different directory, and then you could have your website point to that directory. There's no real advantage to doing that. Most likely in your case, you're just going to have something that looks like a domain name, like HTTP, with your actual domain name. And then your email address. And if you'd like to change your email address, this is the place to do it. So you would come in here and put that in, and then anytime something happens from an admin user standpoint, an email will be sent to that address. If you want somebody to register or be able to register for your site, if you're thinking about doing a membership website, you would want to click on this and let everyone register. But if you're just using a main website where you're going to be putting some posts out there and people might be commenting, you can leave that off for now. It'll give you a little bit extra security. The new user role revolves around membership, and we'll let that be. And then you want to do your UTC plus or minus, which is your time zone. By default, your time zone will be set to just the standard UTC plus 0. I've gone in and changed my time zone code to Chicago, which is the central time zone for the United States. So this is a pretty long list. You can scroll through and pick the code that matches for yours. Also, you'll want to set the date format. I like mine in the standard readable date. And then the time format, just a simple time. If you wanted the 24-hour time clock, you could do that, or you could even set a custom. And then the week starts on Monday. Once you're done with all this, you'll click Save Changes. And generally in WordPress, at the bottom of whatever page you're working on, you'll see this Save Changes button. Make sure you don't forget to click that button when you're done making changes, because you could make a ton of changes, forget to hit this button, click off on another page, and those changes won't be saved. So that's it for the general settings, and now we'll move on to the writing, which will control how you write your posts. So you'll come over here to the settings menu, click on the writing link. And this is going to give you some information like the size of the post box. And this is the size of the box where you can write, and we'll show you what that looks like here. So if you go to posts and you hit this is a post that exists, we'll just click edit. This is the size of your post box. Basically, it's 20 lines. If you want that post box to be bigger, you can just drag it down like this and have more room to see your writing. You can also set that post box to be bigger by clicking this number here. I generally like to have a bigger post box. Let's just make that 30. Formatting, if you type in emoticons, do you want them to convert to show graphics? Sure. Your default post category will leave because right now we only have one category. Your format is going to be a standard format, and we'll get into what these other options are a little bit later. Default link category, again, this is only one link category, so we're going to let that be. Press This is a widget that you can use in your browser, which will allow you to turn any web page into a web post on your blog. I don't recommend using this. You can. There are other ways to snap into your blog, but basically you want to create your own content. If you plan to make original posts via email, you have to set up WordPress to accept email text. And this is going to relate to, and you'll see here, you're going to need some settings from your email server mixed with WordPress and your hosting account, and that information will go in here. Again, I don't recommend posting via email. Since you can use WordPress from any web browser, you can basically log into any browser that you have access to the internet on, and you can use and update posts. Remote posting, this is if you're going to use a blog posting type software like Windows Live Writer or something like that to almost like a desktop editor rather than using the internet. And you would use these settings there. Everything else you're really going to leave the same. The only thing that I change here are the size of the post box. You'll click Save Changes, and you'll be brought back to the Writing menu tab. The next is Reading, and that will control how people read our website. And we're going to cover that in part 2 of this video. This is Craig for thebizwizards.com. Thanks for watching. Make sure to watch part 2.